Okay, so we've got a stream going, and there's pretty much no agenda for this. I'm trying to build an app for a friend of mine, and I've really fallen in love with vibe coding and kind of building stuff for personal projects and work stuff. So figured I'd take some time before the holidays to bang this out and see what I can learn. So basically, what we're trying to do is build an app that's scalable to a ton of people, not just one person. But I'm kind of taking with one person's use case and then going to try and extrapolate it to other people. Where Digimon, the card game, has basically like set weights of what you can get in terms of rarity when you open like a case of product. And so what my friend wants to do is use that information to try and create like an expected value calculation for any set that he is debating whether or not he should purchase a case of the product for. And so what we were trying to build is like an expected value calculator that uses weighted averages and stuff to determine whether or not the purchase price of a case is lower or higher than the expected value of the case. And then he's a business owner, so he can make decisions as to whether or not he buys cases using that information. So ideally, this would be able to kind of scale across any Digimon set. And I don't know a ton about Digimon. A lot of my knowledge with card games is about Pokemon, so I can kind of use that to like sense check whether the numbers make sense that we're seeing. Um, but I think some of the fun is going to be like getting to know the Digimon card game, looking for anomalies. I've already kind of seen some just going through the data as is, so should be a good time. So with that, this is a little like API interface that we were working with before I build out a front end. And so what I was doing was trying to make it so that if we have like a set ID, so I think this one's called Blaster Ace or something, we could see the contents of what it's responding with. And at first, it was responding with like promo rarities, and I don't think we want promos in the calculation because it was like throwing it off. And so it seems to be working okay. I haven't checked the math, but basically this is, showing the different cards within the set, and then it's calculating the expected copies per box, the expected value based on um, some of the math here. And so ideally you would be able to determine like an expected value per card and sum it all up to then get your total. But like going through the data, I see stuff like this where it's like championship 2024 card. Just from what I know about card games, I don't think this should be in this data. So I think next I'm going to kind of filter this out. Um, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And so I'm going to keep kind of messing with the data, sense checking the calculation. I think one of the things that I noticed too is like TCG Player, if I look up the product, the case is like $500, and our current calculator is saying it would be like 2,000. And so I think just numbers alone, I don't think that's right at all. So this is where I need to like learn a little bit more about Digimon to kind of see if those make sense. And if it does make sense, then I think we should all buy these Digimon blaster cases because it's saying if we spend $500, we'll make 2,000. I just don't think that's right though. So this is what we're kind of going through. And so like this gives us the rarities of the booster box. So I want to keep kind of poking around and see what we can find, but that's kind of the agenda. So look over here. And so in the background, I'm using um, Codex, which is ChatGPT's AI coding assistant. And so I've used Claude Code a lot, but I have not used Codex a ton. So this is kind of new for me. Okay, so this is what is being returned by this set ID. It's saying there's 163 cards. what I really want to do is kind of investigate these championship cards because I think they should not be in the set. Yeah, so like to me this seems wrong. This shouldn't be in here. And we should be filtering out all the promos. It's interesting that this card. Hey, how's it going? Good, doing well. Welcome to the stream. You might be my first live stream viewer ever on this channel. I'm doing well. How are you? Okay, so I think what we can do is simply exclude these like championship things, like words like regionals, championship, other stuff like that. I think we're probably safe to just like exclude it from the filters. I'm not a software engineer. I'm a senior finance analyst. I'm trying to learn how to kind of vibe code like apps and stuff. I've used coding for like work projects and like have used Python a lot for automation work in finance stuff, but have not done a whole lot of like development work. So I'm just trying to mess around with it and build something for a friend. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is just make it so that we exclude stuff like championship and regionals. So let me update this. Championship, regionals. So what I just asked Codex to do is update the exclusion filters of the card name to exclude things like championship, regionals, finalist, and participant and cup. Just from going through some of this data, I think some of this should be excluded from the rarity field as there are promos in here that are explicitly labeled promos. But I think we also want to get rid of some of these other things. So if you guys haven't seen what Codex looks like, I'm just using Codex in the Visual Studio Code to kind of make these changes. And then I also instructed it to like restart the app. So this is it kind of rerunning the application. I think this stuff is amazing. I mean, I like growing up, I went to high school and I took a coding class that was like focused on game development. I didn't quite see how it's applicable to like work or some of the other stuff, and I didn't love coding that much. And so I kind of decided to keep taking coding classes because I think when I was younger, that seemed to be like the best way to make a bunch of money following graduating school. But then the I took the follow up coding class like a year later, and it was, the teacher wanted me to like remember all the stuff that I had learned the year before, and I didn't remember any of it. And so at that moment, I unenrolled in the class and switched to business classes. So ever since then, like had never really done anything technically, and then now that these coding assistants are a thing, I've been trying to use them a ton for all sorts of stuff. I guess while this is kind of working, I can do some look into Digimon a little bit more just so you get a better idea of what we're supposed to do. I guess what we could do too is we could also ask ChatGPT test. Okay, cool. So our dictate function works as well. So I guess what I probably wanted to learn from this is like I'm trying to build an app where I have a booster set or a booster case of Digimon product trading card games, and there's 12 booster boxes in a case. A case has set rarities in terms of what can be pulled in terms of common, uncommon, rare, secret rare, etc. You can do more research on Digimon to get more context. But what I need to do is use the rarities to create probabilities that any particular card within the set is pulled, so that if you were to sum the expected pulls of all of the boxes, you would get a expected value based on the TCG player low market price of the set cards. So can you help me explain and understand how this would work technically? Okay, while this is doing its thing, it looks like we have our. This should be updated. So let's see if I do this. We should have no promos. Good. And then we want to see if we have championship. Okay, good. So it looks like there's no championship. So our case price has fallen by, I guess it was like $1,400, because I think it used to be 2,900. So now this is way down. So we're getting closer to that 500 number. Honestly, I would expect just from how these things work, I wouldn't expect it to be more than like $100 higher or lower than the case price. Mhm. I think one thing that I think we need to be careful of is alt arts and Seegerers being counted as the same. What's also interesting though is I think our rarities don't look right. Secret rare 4. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is ask where it's getting these rarities. But I think actually hold on, before I do that, I think I can do under 36 cards. We can also check how right this is, which is probably important. So this should just be using like TCG player data. So this should be close to 15. Okay, so it's probably right. Low sale price right there is 15. Yeah. I think that's probably accurate. We can test another one. Don't want this. $25.4. Okay, so that checks out. So now let's investigate where these rarities are coming from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Codex to build what is it calling it? Set number or set ID? So the other thing I think is I don't know that alternate arts are broken out. So alternate arts are counted as secret rares and rares. Let's see here. I think something we have to be careful of is I don't know. Let's see. Can the alternate art? So an alternate art can be either a secret rare or a super rare or a rare. What I don't know the question too is expected copies per box. Is that because it's using the rare? Yeah. So an alternate art is not going to be the same as a rare. So let's take a look at this. If I know that I get 16 alternate arts in a case, but an alternate art can either be a rare, super rare, or secret rare, I think I'd need to calculate the alternate arts separately. However, we wouldn't be able to see this based on the count of the cards in the set. How would we treat alternate arts differently so that it has a different weighting than the rarities that we would typically see in the CSV file? Okay, cool. Now we have our summary that we built. Okay, so I think what we need to tell Codex is so I think there's a problem with how our process is scraping rarity. And so I think when I set this up last week, I just asked it to web scrape the Digimon website, but I can't remember. So we'll see what this kind of does, and hopefully it can kind of get us in the right direction. But we need the pull rates to be accurate, otherwise our expected value is going to be all off. I'd actually be pretty shocked if we could get expected values that are higher than the purchase price that what you could find on TCG Player. Okay. I think this is what happened. It was using defaults, so it's possible I just didn't build the pull rates properly. Populate this with more data. This also doesn't look right because, or I guess it's per box. Is that right? Per box. One alternate art, 39 rares, 168. Yeah, okay, so this is right. But I think this is because I pasted it. Yeah, there we go. So now we have some new tasks that it's going to run. It's going to look at the current set list, design our scrape targets from the wiki. And it's going to build the web scraper to kind of fetch the pull rates, and then it's going to run the scrapers so that this file updates with more set data, which is great. I guess while this is doing its thing, go back over here, kind of look at this a little more. Okay, looks like this finished. Okay, so I think what's happening is it's mixing. Yeah. So what we need to do is use this. Is it true that this would be times 12? 8 times 12? Yes. 72 uncommons times 12. Rares. Oops, 72 times 12. It says that there's 948 rares in a case. But 39 times 12 is 468. So maybe there's something I don't understand about. Hmm. Maybe there's something I don't know about the pull rates between a box and a case. So I think we need to extract both of them in case there's a difference. Let's publish this. Basically, what I want the scraper to do is navigate the web page and like one exclude the Japanese sets because that's in there as noise. Then we need to separate the booster box section from the case section. So hopefully that gets us more results. Like I should be able to see like this, see that it's a box or a case, and then have this match what I see on the website, and then do that for every set. Hey, welcome to the chat. Thanks for joining. How's your day going? I am building a basically like think of it like an expected value calculator for the Digimon trading card game. So a friend of mine kind of asked me to help him build something that allows him to determine whether or not if he were to buy something like this, which is, a case of trading cards, what would the value be based on probability of expected pull rates of the cards that he would expect to get from this box using their market value. And so the way that this is possible is that a case of Digimon cards has preset determined like chances of rarity for the cards that you can pull from a case. And so since you know that, you can kind of create like a weighted average expected price based on the market prices. And if you were to calculate that for every card and then sum it up, you would have a price that would tell you, like based on probability, what you could expect to get if you were to buy the case, sell all the singles. And so what he's trying to do is say, all right, if I buy this case of this set, is the expected value higher or lower than what I can get for the purchase price after fees? And so I don't know anything about Digimon, so I'm kind of learning by going as I'm doing this. A lot of my experience with trading cards comes from the Pokemon trading card game, which doesn't work like that at all. The pull rates are not public. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to build like a tool that he can use and then any other person can use that would allow business owners to make quick decisions as to whether or not they should buy a case based on the price that it's being offered to them. So right now we're trying to extract the proper polls for boxes and cases from the Digimon Wikipedia, which I think it just completed. And so now I'm like, I was waiting for that to finish, and now I'm gonna inspect it. So let's see. Okay, so it looks like the results have been saved. We have new results. So let's do some sense checking. I'm kind of using like this Blastase set as my test case. So seems like we got the pulls per box. We got 168 uncommon, 72 uncommons and rares. So let's tab over here. This. So English is 168 commons, 72 uncommon, 39 rares, one alternate art, and either one secret rare or one alternate art. So right now it's defaulting to alt art. So that's something we might want to note as like something to consider. The cases 948 rares, 216, 864, 8, 16, and super rares 84. Okay, so this is right. So now let's hop over to BT13 and see if it scraped that properly. Okay. How old am I? I'm 23. What brings you to the chat? Thanks for being here. So this one 168, 72, 39, 7, 1. One six 864 468 84 8 16. find me data that suggests the odds of pulling either a secret rare or an alternate art in a booster box. Through my research in the data, it seems like if you open a booster box, you could either get a secret rare or an alternate art. And before I choose a 50-50% probability that you would get either of the two, I want to see if there's data on the internet that would suggest the weighting is different. So I'm noticing that through these scraped results that we have in the pulls per box and pulls per case, it's not sorting the rarity, so it's kind of annoying to look at. So I'm going to change it so that this is sorted in the same kind of top to down or top to bottom. And then I think so some of these things are being handled properly and that like pre-release cards wouldn't actually have like a set. So I guess I should look into like some of these things to see if they are what we would expect. So like BT12. I think I'll have to ask my friend if like he mainly is just looking at the BT kind of X sets to see if that's the main use cases because like none of these pre-release cards and stuff should have any like expected value thing. I don't think they come in boxes. If it's anything like Pokemon, these are like standalone cards. So I think what might actually be helpful to know is what are the sets that are actually like sets that you can open as opposed to just random cards. And so once we get our answer to our data requests from ChatGPT about whether or not secret rares and alternate arts have similar pull rates, I will ask that question. And Himal, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that, man. Okay, so now it's in a fixed rarity order, which is great. So if we go back to this, cool. Now it's in the same format. So I think we can exclude stuff like starter decks. Okay, so let's see. All right. So I'm gonna try and get the weighting to use that box situation, and then I need to see which sets are actually just like booster boxes, and then we can basically exclude everything else. And I think we should limit that first before we build this. BTXX. I'm gonna limit the scope of what we can do this for to um, base theme sets, and then I'll ask my friend to kind of explain a little bit more on some of the other set types to make sure we're doing those right. But if we can nail the base sets, then that's probably a good step in the right direction. So I think what's interesting is for some reason looks like not all the sets are coming through. So let's investigate why. Hey, no, I think it's just the no sound is me not talking. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for being here. How's your day going? Okay, so now that's working. So I'm doing good, doing well. I'm building a tool to help a friend of mine calculate the expected value of a Digimon trading card game case. Trying to, embrace using AI coding assistants as I've found a lot of value using them for work and other personal projects. And so I wanted to kind of take on some other fun tasks. So sometimes I find that the best way to learn a new tool is to just apply it to something. Um, that's kind of what we're up to. No specific agenda other than just like trying to make a product for a friend of mine. Are you interested in coding projects or business, or what kind of brings you to the live stream? I'm also kind of teaching myself about Digimon. A lot of my expertise is with Pokemon, so this is kind of a completely new thing for me. Just wanted to collaborate. What are you working on? That's awesome if you're building something. I don't know if I am using GitHub. See, part of the problem is as a non-technical person trying to use technical stuff, I don't quite know what I should and should not be using. So, can you tell me like how you use GitHub for coding projects? Modern web technologies. Cool. Any specific domain that you're interested in? Ah, okay, I see. So basically, like I'm assuming that has to do with like the code review process or something, so you have like version control over your projects as opposed to what I'm doing, which is like random. It's just kind of deploying changes on the spot. All right, we've got some action. Let's see. The pull rates have been updated from the scraped BT and X data. API is not running with them. Priority orders standardize. Okay, now, all right, now I believe this. We're getting a lot closer to what I would have expected to see because the sale price of the case is 400. Now we're at 564. When we first started the live stream, we were almost at $3,000. So just from what I know about trading card games, usually you can make like a 20% profit margin on stuff if you're selling it. I mean, opening case is a little bit different. I'm kind of surprised that it's showing over versus under, but this is a lot more realistic than what I was kind of thinking would happen. The thing is, though, I think we need to get rid of these. Maybe not. Yeah, sure thing. Um, Here's my Discord server. Would love to see you over there. So I guess what I need to figure out is can this card be pulled? If not, we need to exclude it. I guess I could go here. I think we need to exclude this. And similarly, like this thing. These alternate arts we can keep in. Okay, yeah, I think we need to get rid of these promotion pack things. So let's make an update. saw you join the Discord. Thanks so much. Looking forward to talking to you over there. I think we're making good progress. Soon, I guess the thing I'll have to kind of review with my friend once I'm done with this is like, do we feel comfortable about the things we're including and excluding? And I think if we are, I can also just kind of caveat it, or in like some of the audit tabs that I want to build, have the results show up there. That way people know what's being included and excluded and they can change if they want to. But with that change, let's see what our EV is. Okay, it drops quite a bit actually. And the other thing I want to see is I want to see if this is just multiplying it by 12, because I think the cases have different rates. Pulls per box by rarity, divided by the rarity count for that rarity. EV of the box is the sum of expected copies per box times that. EV per case is that times pull rates. All right, let's see here. So what we're seeing, I'm trying to make it so that the case logic is separate from the box logic. And so what we're seeing is if you take the box expected value of like $28 multiplied by 12, which is the amount of cases within a case, or the amount of boxes within a case, we're getting like $336 of expected value. But if we do the case part, which is what the code is suggesting it's doing, then we see like over $100 delta between the two. So let's see if it can act like a finance analyst and explain why. So the case pulls ingested aren't proportional to the box pulls. Rares are 948 versus. Hey, thanks a ton, Hamal. I appreciate it. Is there any? Do you have any questions? Anything you want to know? Otherwise, thanks for being a subscriber, and I hope you enjoy the future videos. Okay, so this delta is driven by rares increasing and alt arts increasing, with SECs shrinking. How did I become a financial analyst? So when I turned 18, I got into personal finance because I used to be a professional Pokemon trading card game player, and my passion for that kind of stopped when COVID happened because all of the events that I used to play in kind of shut down. And so I originally got into like stocks and investing and early retirement and like wealth building. And so I was working for a company at the time, and decided to drop out of school and pursue business, like my own business, running a trading card game store online, and then this kind of job I was working in this warehouse. And that was mainly the decision driven by, I didn't want to take out student debt to kind of pursue any sort of job. Then the company I was working for ended up paying for college, and so I re-enrolled in finance with this kind of newfound interest for investing and stuff. And shortly after that, I reached out to the program lead for the internship program internal to the company and asked if they'd be willing to give me an interview, and they did. And so through that, got the opportunity to kind of take an internship in finance, and then kind of just kept taking opportunities, working super hard, and worked at worked while I was in school at the same time for a couple of years, and then graduated with a job. So it's kind of a combination of like following something that I was interested in, and then working really hard to make sure that I could kind of stay in that environment. So yeah, that's kind of the story of how I became a finance analyst. Okay, so let's see. Alternate average is $12.66. There's no way the secret rare is this much though. Maybe it is. There's only one secret rare? No. There's two secret rares. Oh, hold on. This doesn't make sense. How can there be super rare secret rares, but there's no super rares? So secret rare is 2, super rare is 12, but if I search for super rares, there are none. So uh well, thanks for tuning in from a great night. Okay, so apparently this is a secret rare. Ah, no, wait, that makes no sense, does it? Maybe it does, because this is a super rare. Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm building a website, or really it's a tool for a friend of mine who runs a business selling trading cards. And basically what he's trying to do is calculate the expected value of a Digimon booster box using the predetermined weights of rarity of what you can pull from the set. And so I'm trying to build him like a calculator basically that allows him to select any booster box and then kind of input his price and see whether or not he should make a decision to buy it. So I'm kind of building out the logic. There's a few questions I have for him that I need in terms of like how we're bucketing ratings, but as you can see here, like our expected value for a box, we're trying to back into a number that would get higher than what you could buy the box for, and then you would make a profit if you were to like open it and sell all the cards. So the most important thing is like making sure we have the right logic for bucketing of how these pull rates actually work. And so that's kind of what we're doing. And then I guess the end product would be like a website for someone to use, so that other people can use it if they find it valuable. But I'm not a coder, so this is me kind of just messing around with like the AI tools and experimenting. So I'm gonna try and sense check the numbers that we're getting by asking for a table of all of our stuff. So basically for any boxes that we have the data available for, I want to try and see if there's any that are actually profitable. So there we go. Thanks, appreciate it. I'm the website. I guess I'll probably use like React and Streamlit, but I'm using Codex from OpenAI to build the code. And then I've never really like deployed an app myself, so once I kind of figure out the structure and make sure that the math and stuff works, I'll kind of move into like how do I actually deploy that in a way that people can use it. And of course, security would probably be like important as well. Okay, so one thing we need to do now that we have this is I want to check some of these prices. So like BTO4, I imagine the older the set is, um, the harder it will be to find like a positive EV because the set will likely be more expensive just from the fact that it's old. Actually, not too off. So this is 60 versus 46. Actually, I guess maybe a better way to do this would be we could just ask it to scrape the prices of boxes, but we can do that in a second. So this one has a high EV of 122. Um, okay, so in theory, if our scraper is actually working, then this set is worth buying. Because it's saying that we would extract $122 out of it. So let's do some digging and see if that's actually right. BT06. Zero this out. Okay, so there's 168 commons, 72 uncommons, soon super rares, 2 secret rares. Yeah, I'm gonna have the program allow the user to input any set that they want, um, as long as there's like a booster box for that set. So it seems like BT04 up through BT14 are like sets that we have data for and pull rates as well because there's newer Digimon sets that don't have pull rates listed. So I kind of need to ask my friend like what he wants there because I can't find data that suggests there's pull rates that are public for those things. Um, so yeah. Okay, so this is interesting. So there's a problem. So good thing I checked this because we'll want to exclude other stuff like this. So store champion, event pack 2. I think maybe something we could do is just change it to exclude anything that has parentheses in the titles, except for alternate arts. Alphamon. So I need to see if this ghost rare card. This is all in English. Oh, the language, the coding language is Python. That's probably probably what you meant. You can see I don't know anything about coding because it's all vibes. Okay, this. I'm assuming it's this. So I think what I would want to know is whether or not we can buy this card as a ghost or a non-ghost. So ah, okay, so there is a difference between the two. So we need to, I think we need to keep this because I'm assuming we can pull this. Here, let's do this. We will, the overrides I want this logic is if parentheses. All right, so I'm gonna update our process to make sure that we're excluding anything that doesn't say alternate art or ghost in it. And then once we have the new exclusions, I'll just look at that and see if there's anything else that I want to re-include. So it's interesting. The TCG player data is like including cards that are promotional, which is going to throw off your math. And typically, event promos are like more valuable than their non-event promo counterparts. So it's going to screw up all of our math if we include those on accident. And we obviously do not want the end user making the wrong decision with that stuff. All right, cool. Now let's rerun this. Interesting. Okay, so it excluded too much stuff. Okay. Well, good to know. Have you tried any of the coding assistants like Claude Code or Codex, anything like that? Because I've fallen in love with them. Like I use them for all sorts of stuff at work and try and do little personal projects when I can. And it's been so much fun like using technical stuff that I had no idea how to do before. A lot of what I like about it is automation. You can use it for all sorts of stuff to like automate the routine tasks. All right, so it sounds like this was redone, so we'll try this again. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's super cool. I have a video on my channel about how to set up Claude Code that I made a couple months back. That's like kind of a quick start guide to get your hands on with the tools. But if you have a ChatGPT unlimited subscription, you can also just use Codex, which comes in the $20 cost a month for that. And so that's what I'm using. I think Claude Code's better, but I wanted to use this since I already had it. Oh yeah, Visual Basic's good. I mean, you can have the coding assistants build Visual Basic code as well, like super fast. So it's interesting. Like I've designed macros and things at work through some of the coding assistants, but like I have no idea how to write Visual Basic myself. Okay, let's see. Apparently this will work now. Okay, so looks like that might have fixed it. Let's try some other sets to start getting familiar with the data. What have you had to use Visual Basic for? Do you work with Excel a lot? I see. What do you do for work? Oh, thanks for your service. How'd uh how'd the YouTube algorithm push you this content? I'm curious. Like what type of YouTube videos do you typically watch? I guess one thing we could do is we could maybe it's more scalable if no. I'm using Codex is GPT-5.1. Oh, finance and trading cards. Perfect. My two favorite subjects. Yeah, I used to run an e-commerce business with Pokemon cards. Um, so I did that for about 4 years. Yeah, it's funny. Like usually my YouTube channel doesn't really talk about trading cards anymore, mainly just because it's more about like my experiences in life and like the way I think and kind of things that I'm learning as I'm navigating through life. Whereas my previous YouTube channel was exclusively about running a Pokemon trading card game business, which is funny. So I don't know if YouTube was able to push you here. It's not like the stream is particularly like loaded with information about Digimon or anything. Um, that's funny, but glad to have you here. I think I need something more scalable in this to handle these things, but it's okay. We'll kind of we'll ignore it for now. So I think let's try out. Mhm. Yeah, I do. I do work in finance. I don't have a video on Codex, but just Claude. The installation steps are pretty similar though. If you go to if you open ChatGPT Codex and then do try and VS Code here, you can install this on Visual Studio Code and then kind of follow the steps there. The Claude one was a bit more complicated. I think it needed some other dependencies. So I think I've kind of reached the point where I probably need some validation from the client or friend on whether or not we're headed in the right direction with some of this stuff. So I'm gonna export some set results and then send them to him, and we can start building a front end. Let's see. Now that this is, let's see what this says. 47. It looks like the EVs are pretty consistent, like $40 to $50 range. All right, let's see if we can get this Excel file. Basically, what I did is I just told this thing to make it so that when I execute this, we can download the results as an Excel file. But it did not do that. Uh, what's good, Sebrew? How are you? I'm building basically like a think of it like an expected value calculator of Digimon sets. A friend of mine and I were talking, and I wanted to build something for him, so I just had something to kind of mess around with on the weekend. Because I've been using a lot of like AI coding assistants for work, and so I wanted to kind of try applying some of the stuff to just something else. And so basically, apparently Digimon has set pull rates unlike Pokemon. And so if you know what the set pull rates are, scrape the data from TCG Player, and then weight them, you would come up with an expected value for the box so that he can make buy no buy decisions uh, based on whatever he can acquire the stuff for, the boxes for. Thanks. How have you been? Oh wait, I'm silly. It's right here. Whoops. All right, let's see. All right, so here's what that did. That kind of got us to a export. So this is our EV per box, EV per case. And I think this is just this times 12. And then what I want my friend to see is whether or not this makes sense. There's 132 cards, and so I guess what we'd want to check is Culpeper was good. I had a good time. Just hung out, watched some movies. Went to what's it called? Frosty's Cafe. It was a good time. Let's see if I can. I don't have Excel on my desktop, which is funny. So let's see if I can. Man, I don't know how Google Sheets keyboard shortcuts work. Okay, so there's 132 cards here. I've actually never had Grace to Griddle. I need to I keep going on Sundays on accident. So let's see. We need to find the set list for this. So it's saying there's 129 cards, 2 secret rares. So how many? Oh man. Hold on. 20. $18 parallel cards. That's kind of close. So maybe this ghoster needs to be excluded. No. There's 3 of these things though. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this as a pausing point. I'm gonna All right, I'm gonna call it a stop in place for today. Got almost 3 hours of kind of messing around with this. So thank you all for joining. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. I make YouTube videos about all sorts of stuff. But yeah, appreciate you guys being here, and I will live stream again soon with more progress. See y'all.